shortly on YouTube. It's the first ever Kuwait Pro hosted by our friends at Oxygen Gym. And if you have seen previews of it, they are sparing no expense on the stage, on the amenities. They're making it free for the public, so good for them. As we bring in Dave Palumbo, actually, after this show, and Dave, I want you to enlighten the audience a little bit about this, we're going to have our first episode of our new show, Versus. There was controversy at the Arnold Classic with Dexter Jackson edging out Big Ramy for his title, for what it is now his 27th all-time title, 9th Arnold Classic title. Tell the fans a little bit more about the upcoming show, Versus.
Well, it was really your idea, Sid, but I kind of had this idea for a bunch of years anyway, that I always wanted to do like different competitors. It was actually more of like a virtual pose down. It was against people who never competed against each other. Like how would Arnold have done against Dorian, or how would Lee Haney have done against Ronnie Coleman? Guys, stuff like that. And then really it kind of morphed and evolved into, hey, what about, and analyzing certain competitors against certain competitors. Dexter and Ramy called out, last call out at the Arnold Europe one-on-one. I'd like to analyze it. I wasn't there. I want to do a virtual, analysis as we're watching the pose down so I can tell you what I see and my insights and what might come of this weekend, because there's going to be a rematch on that stage. A lot of people thought Ramy deserved to win last week. Who will win this week? Ramy will be in his hometown backyard, essentially, of Kuwait there. Dexter Jackson, obviously, he's overseas, but he's the winningest bodybuilder of all time. So stay tuned. Right after this show, we're going to go into the new program, Versus, and I want and encourage you guys, the viewers, to chime in on this. And talking about the viewers for a second, Sid, we are killing it with the subscribers. You guys have been so supportive. I can't even thank you enough. We're over 61,000. I believe probably by the end of today, we will have surpassed Muscular Development in subscribers. And, I started that site in 2006, so they got quite a head start on us. I'm super, super excited that all the original TV programming is being so well received by everyone out there. I know you like all the different types of programming. You guys came up to me at the Olympia. You told me how much you loved it. And you know what? That inspires me to continue giving you what you guys want. So let's get right to Ask Dave. Remember, Versus right after this show. And don't forget to catch our interview I did earlier today with Nicole Negrader. What was her? Neergardner, excuse me. What a name. Neergardner. She's got to get married and change that name. No, that's a great name.
It's like
actually.
Rookie of the Year. It'd be like Rowan Gardner. Gardner knows her.
She is 16 years old. She's still a senior in high school doing homework, and she is an IFBB pro, the youngest IFBB pro of all time. We got her on an interview earlier today. So, Sid, I know we have a lot of questions.
We have a ton of questions. Let's get right to them. We start with GCT 2000 on the Muscle Central Forum on RXMuscle.com. Dave, hate this show. Can I eat carbs in your keto diet and stay in ketosis if my total daily carbs intake stays around 50 or 60 grams of carbs?
See, the issue with being in ketosis is that there's carbs in everything we eat pretty much. So the 40 grams or under 40 grams that you need to be under to be in ketosis usually accounts for the indirect sources of carbs you're already taking in from nuts or vegetables or even eggs. Everything's got a little bit of carbs in it. So if you put 40 more grams of carbs in there from starchy sources, you're not going to be in ketosis. No way.
Let's go to Daja Cassett. Dave, I've started labor work in a warehouse. My lower back feels sore, like doing deadlifts. Should I up my carbs a little throughout the day? Also, any tips to make my soreness easier?
A lot of people tell me, I have a high demand job. I'm a bricklayer, a mason. I'm on my feet in a warehouse. I'm a security guard on my feet. Should I eat more carbs? You know what the answer to that normally is if you're trying to diet? No, don't. You don't need more carbs. You probably need more rest. What happens, I find, when people don't sleep as much or they're overworking their bodies, they get hungry. That's the first thing that happens. Even happens to me. I came back on the red-eye flight from Vegas on 2 hours sleep. I came to the office. I couldn't stop eating all day. I couldn't figure it out. When you don't sleep, okay, the hormones that make you hungry, leptin, okay, increase. So that's what's going on. You probably don't need more food or carbs. you need to relax more, and that means maybe taking an extra day off from the gym. I don't know, but eating more food is just going to make you fatter.
Flexing Joe, Dave, hate your show. Do you have any tips for skincare and shaving? I get a lot of ingrown hairs and skin irritation from shaving. Does this have anything to do with DHT levels? I know you mentioned higher DHT levels can lead to more acne, and I've had acne since I was a teenager.
Well, a lot of people had asked me about, hey, I'm breaking out a lot. What should I do? And this is about a year ago. Jokingly, well, not even jokingly, I said, why don't you try my Testolized product that I produce from Species Nutrition? Because what it does is it balances your hormones. It raises testosterone, but it also lowers DHT and estrogen, but it doesn't eliminate it. It seems to know at what point to lower it to. Also, there's compounds in there that bind up estrogen and pull it out of the body. So not only does it block the production of estrogen, it actually gets rid of extra estrogen, so women can use it as well. So I told this person, use Testolized 3 pills twice a day, and they started doing that, and their acne went away. And I said, that's interesting. So I suggested it to 2 or 3 other people who were complaining about acne, and you know what? It worked on all of them, which tells me that you don't have to eliminate DHT to curtail or lower the incidence or breakout of acne. You just have to get it, because what happens is when you take anabolics, the DHT levels go through the roof. You just got to get them back to normal levels, and Testolized does that really well. Plus, it seems to also balance the estrogen levels off really well. So rather than knee-jerk going and trying to take Finasteride or a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor, which is a little too strong for most people, and especially young people don't really want to take it, I would say try Testolized 3 pills twice a day. Also, as far as shaving goes, I use a Gillette, 5-blade razor.
Mach 5.
It's not Mach 5. It's called the Gillette Fusion. Okay, and I find that works the best. I get a great body shave from it. I get a great face shave from it. I use Dial soap, and I find that Dial soap, even throughout my years when I was bodybuilding and taking a lot of steroids, it reduced the incidence of acne. I would shower in the morning. I would shower before bed. Keep yourself well shaved. If you're going to shave, you got to shave all the time. Okay, that means constantly, do tune-ups on yourself. Don't wait till the hair grows in, because once the hair starts growing in, long, you're going to get you're going to get like ingrown hairs. If you shave on a regular basis, you won't get those ingrown hairs. I promise you.
Is it the ProGlide?
No, it's the Fusion. Gillette
Fusion ProGlide.
No, I think the ProGlide is the girls' razor. That's what Amanda uses.
I just looked it up. It's a dude's thing. Anyway, let's go to the next
maybe
question.
It is. Okay, maybe they changed the name.
Aaron Iron Bars. In a lean mass phase, what macros should be increased when increasing calories?
Say that one more time.
In a lean mass phase,
Right.
what macros should be increased when increasing calories?
I always increase protein first, then I increase fat, and if then that doesn't work, then I increase carbs. So if you're trying to stay lean, the carbs should be the last macro that you increase. Protein is usually what people are lacking. So if I up protein and the person starts gaining again, then I know I solved the problem. If they don't, it could be a fat issue, so I'll raise fat a little bit. I'll add a couple more tablespoons of mac oil in there, maybe some more nuts, maybe half an avocado here and there. If that works, then great. If it doesn't, then and they're still looking like they're not looking full enough, then I know it's probably a carb issue. So I'll put the carbs in there.
Let's go to Swole Cuban. Dave, I'm new to the show. All right, welcome aboard. This past few cycles, I've plateaued at about week 5 to week 6. I've tried changing diet and changing compounds once this happens, but it's not responsive. What is your recommendation on keeping this from happening? Do you believe in the body's anabolic receptors?
Yeah, the body has anabolic receptors, and they do, blunt. They stop responding as well after, several weeks on gear. But people stop growing because of the food they're taking, or they're not training well. What I get as a contest prep coach, what scares the crap out of me is that I'm doing everything right and the person who I'm helping is not training right. And how do I tell that person you're training like a pussy or something like that? I can't do that because I don't know. Everyone tells me they train hard. But sometimes, when I have them test their gear, I know the gear is good. I know they're eating the right amount of food. I know I have to assume it's the training, So sometimes training is an issue. Assuming your training is good, use good form. You're pushing your body. You got weights. It's usually the diet that's the problem. It's not usually the gear. It usually means you need more food. What macro you need, you have to experiment with that. But my experience is that the gear is usually not the problem unless it's fake. And if it's fake, you're screwing yourself. You're wasting time. How do you tell if it's fake? Bill Llewellyn's greatest new invention. I've mentioned this a million times on the show. I'll remind people again who may be tuning in for the first time. There's a product called Roid Test where you can test your anabolic steroids, see if they're real. I sell it at DavePalumbo.com. I'm the exclusive distributor in the United States. It's a terrific kit. It's super easy to use. Read everything I put on my website. I have a video on how to use it. And I promise you, test your products because a lot of people out there think they got great stuff and they don't. They absolutely don't. Test your gear. It's so cheap. You're spending so much money. Don't waste your time.
You're watching Ask Dave on RXMuscle.com. We're taking questions right now from the Muscle Central Forum. You can also join us on our YouTube channel if you're watching us live on our YouTube channel. First of all, we ask for you to subscribe below. We appreciate all the support you've given us over the last few months in terms of getting our user count now past 61,000 viewers, so we're greatly appreciative of that. You can join us also on our Facebook page, Instagram, official_RXMuscle, or tweet using hashtag AskDave. Let's go to J. Lopez 4. Dave, how do you feel about adding in hardening agents such as Winstrol and halotestin as a competitor gets closer to a show? At what dosage and duration do you feel one should run it at? Also, some feel that Winstrol dries them out too much to the point where their joints hurt. Is this common?
I've heard the whole Winstrol thing, drying the joints out. I don't know. I don't buy it. What mechanism is Winstrol drying out the joints? Unfortunately, when people get ready for competitions and their body fat gets very low in those last 6 to 8 weeks when they put the Winstrol in, their joints are usually dehydrated anyway because of the fact that they're not holding water, they're on low carbs. That's where I think that's coming from. So to be honest with you, I know people have told me this and they swear about it, but I think people have put this thought in their head. No one talked about joints drying out when I took Winstrol back in the 90s and early 2000s. This is a new thing. So I don't know who made it up. I want to see the mechanism by which Winstrol dries out your joints. Why would it dry out your joints any more than any other anabolic steroid does? Because it's water-based? Come on. It's crazy. Hold on. I didn't answer the question. I didn't answer the question, Sid. Now you're confusing me. The other part of the question was putting in halotestin.
Yes.
Okay. Steroids don't necessarily harden the body up, but on a lean body, certain steroids will make you look harder and fuller. Halotestin has no anabolic properties whatsoever, but it's a super androgen, and it's a non-aromatizing androgen, meaning it doesn't convert to estrogen. And because it doesn't convert to estrogen, you get very little fluid retention with it. And because it's high in androgens make you store glycogen better. They're glycogen storers. That's why you get so pumped when you take anything androgenic. So halotestin, 20 milligrams a day, the last 2 weeks, has a nice hardening or filling out effect on the body, especially when you're carbing up. The problem is that halotestin, once again, is very toxic, one, and number two, it has no anabolic properties, so you don't want to take it any other time during the year other than those last 2 weeks. Plus, it makes you feel like crap. Anyone who's taken halotestin will attest to the fact that you feel terrible on the stuff, okay, and you feel mad all the time. No one wants to feel like that all the time. You only do that the last 2 weeks.
Let's go to Wadenator or Wadinator. Dave, I hate this show so much. I would rather eat nothing but dirt cheap whey protein instead of isolized and have constant diarrhea before having to endure another episode. Will Titan Medical start making peptides? If so, when can we expect to see them?
I just spoke to Titan Medical on the phone today, and I'm going to be doing a video, preferably this week, on some of their products. Obviously, I've done plenty of videos on testosterone replacement and HCG, but they have some really interesting injectable vitamins that I've been experimenting with, specifically branched-chain amino acids and other amino acids, like nitric oxide-releasing amino acids. I've been using them before going to the gym in the morning. They have antioxidant cocktails with glutathione in it, which is a terrific antioxidant. And you can't take it orally. It doesn't get absorbed orally. So injectably, when you inject it, you can absorb it much more highly and utilize it, and really good for your immune system. They have some other new stuff coming out, and I have them actually researching some of these healing peptides that a lot of people have been talking about lately. Because the problem with the healing peptides is that they work, but that you can't trust these peptide sites because most of them don't really give you what you're supposed to be getting. They're most of them are fake, and there's nothing in there. And how would you know? You can't test it. If this company, Titan Medical Center, can make the products, they will have it made in a FDA-approved lab. These products will be 100%. So I'm super excited about it. Look for my video later in the week about the injectable amino acids and antioxidants. And then hopefully as we move forward, there'll be more peptide type hormones available as they can get them approved. The first ones we're going after are the healing peptides, and then we'll move on to some of the other ones. But once again, it's got to be done the right way, and they have to be science behind these, and they have to work. Because I'm not going to advocate anything that doesn't work.
Let's go now to our YouTube channel and check in with our members on the YouTube chat. Let's go to Nemo Racing. Love you guys. You're a great team. I'd like to know, how should I take Finasteride because of hair loss to find the good balance, gains versus hairs? I'm about to make my first cycle. Thank you.
You haven't even taken a cycle. You're already worried about Finasteride? I'm assuming you're losing your hair already. So, I started Finasteride in about 2003. I started with 1 milligram. It used to be called Propecia. And Propecia at 1 milligram a day did something, but not as much as I would have liked it to do. The problem with Propecia is because it's made specifically for use with hair loss, insurance doesn't cover it. However, insurance covers Proscar, which is a 5 milligram version of Finasteride, okay, because it's for prostate health. If you can get your doctor to prescribe that, it probably will be covered by your insurance. Now, I think 5 milligrams per day is a little too much to take. I take a half of one. I take 2.5 milligrams per day, and I find that it reduces my DHT on my blood work just enough so that it's not too low, but that it's still, I still can function sexually speaking. Because if you lower DHT levels too much, then it affects your sex drive. Now, if you're listening out there and you have no hair loss issues, okay, and your prostate's doing great, I wouldn't use Finasteride. It's a little too strong. It's unnecessary. If you want to, like I said, eliminate acne or lower DHT a little bit, you use a product like Testalize, okay, because that's a more natural a route to go, and it's not going to lower you too much. So you have to evaluate why you're using Finasteride.
Let's go back to our YouTube chat room and check in with Costas Doctors Talk. Dave, does clonidine hydrochloride raise endogenous growth hormone production?
I remember reading the original anabolic reference guide in 1996 written by Bill Phillips, and he talked about clonidine, being used for GH increases by bodybuilders. I believe it makes you very tired, the clonidine, if I remember correctly. This is before the days of growth hormone releasing peptides that were out. It was really before the days before there was even GH. GH was just really new to the market. So I don't think I would use that as a GH release. So you're probably better off taking 2 grams of GABA before bed, like I put in my Somalize nighttime fat burner and sleep aid, because GABA raises GH levels way more than clonidine will. So, but the point that I'm making here is that with the advent of growth hormone releasing peptides like GHRP6, GHRP2, CJC, hexarelin, all these other ones, the other use of these other like substances, they used to use arginine to release GH, and I don't think it really did much at all. But back in the 80s, that's all there was, so people used it. But today, it's much higher technology.
Let's take more questions from the YouTube channel and go to Sirio Avenente. Dave, what do you think about long-term pituitary suppression from long-term exogenous HGH use?
GH is directly stimulated from the pituitary gland, and in response to various stimuli, environmental stimuli, sleep, working out, stress, low insulin levels, it's pulsed. Protein hormones are pulsed in that sense, or at least GH is pulsed, just like insulin is pulsed. So taking GH, taking insulin will not shut down your endogenous GH levels unless you took a shot every hour that you were awake, okay? So you don't have to worry about pituitary suppression from GH injections, just like you don't have to worry about pancreatic suppression by taking insulin, okay? So that doesn't apply like, say, taking testosterone would suppress natural testosterone production. It's not the same type of feedback loop that works because it's a pulsatile hormone.
Let's go back to the YouTube channel and check with Jason Brown. Dave, what is the best way to get your name out as a coach and gain clients?
It's a good question. I always tell people, first of all, you got to be knowledgeable. If once your reputation is assessed by the community, they judge you and then you're branded. Okay? So the first thing you want to do is educate yourself. That's very important. And, as you know, I teach a course called The Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru. I won't go into it ad infinitum because I know we have a lot of questions to get to, but I'm teaching the next one on October 22nd. And we always fill the classes up. We have 3 spots left, guys. So who's ever looking to sign up, DavePalumbo.com. Make sure you sign up for the course. It's a 10-hour class where I instruct people on how to understand nutrition, diet, supplementation, performance-enhancing drugs, detoxification, site injections, putting together off-season pre-contest diets for men, women. And basically, I teach you how to be a coach. I teach you the science of coaching and the science of how to put this all together so that you have a good knowledge base. Because once you have a knowledge base and you start giving people advice, and what I recommend you do when you first start out, give free advice out. Give advice to your friends. Answer questions online. Become a knowledgeable person where people say, hey, this guy is smart. Do a few people's diets for free. Get them in good shape. Let them be your salespeople for you. Because if you get people to look their best, they will tell other people about it, and then your reputation will build. But if you're known as one of these hacks out there, one of these like bro science guys that don't really know what they're doing, they kind of just guess their way through it, you will never have long-term success in this business. That's why it's important to educate yourself. Unfortunately, I'm the only person doing the educating right now, and maybe I'm the only person who's qualified to do it. I don't know, but guys, I try to give the course every 2-3 months now because the courses are filling up. The classes fill up all the way. Every single class I've given so far the last year has filled up. Don't wait. October 22nd is the last one I'm going to do before we move down to Florida, and I don't know when I'll do the next one. Actually, I'll probably do one in December in San Diego with Derek Farnsworth. We have to set an exact date. But, guys, that's what it's all about. Educate yourself and then market yourself.
You're watching Ask Dave on RXMuscle.com. 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Reminder, right after this show, we're going to be presenting our first episode of our new show, Versus, as Dave is going to analyze Dexter Jackson versus Big Ramy from this past weekend's Arnold Classic Europe, right here on RXMuscle.com. Let's go to our Instagram questions. If you're not already following us on Instagram, it is @official_RXMuscle. Let's go to Anthony Morris. Dave, big fan from New Zealand. Watch all your shows. What is your take on sodium and electrolyte imbalances? Currently 4 weeks out from a show, and the other day I felt like I had been hit by a train mentally and physically. Fatigue, hot and cold flashes, couldn't think straight, headaches, so on and so forth, until I added a few teaspoons of soy sauce to my evening chicken meal and I had 2 electrolyte drinks. Then it was almost like my body was rebalanced itself. Was crazy, felt amazing. What is your take?
Well, first of all, the symptoms that you're describing are not really electrolyte imbalance symptoms. They're really low blood sugar symptoms. So when you said you added soy sauce, I was like, I was confused at first. Then you said you added electrolyte drinks. Most electrolyte drinks have sugar in them, so you probably were just low blood sugar. But people do restrict salt on their diet way too much. I recommend people salt the crap out of your foods, okay? Because when you're, especially on your low-carb diets, your body doesn't hold water. And sodium helps the body to retain fluid, which is good. You think everyone's like, oh, we don't want to retain water. Yeah, you don't want to walk around dehydrated the whole diet. You'll feel like terrible. Imagine having a hangover for 16 weeks. It's not a fun feeling. So you got to salt your foods. You got to use, whether you use soy sauce or sea salt or just regular iodized salt, you got to make sure you're getting enough sodium in, because sodium will actually suppress the water retentive enzyme, a hormone, aldosterone. We don't want a lot of aldosterone running around the body because that makes you retain fluid, okay? And it's going to make it hard to get rid of fluid at the end. The best way to suppress aldosterone release is to eat a lot of sodium, because when you consume a lot of sodium in your diet, your body says, oh, we don't need sodium, and it doesn't release any aldosterone from the adrenal glands. So it's important to understand that you need electrolytes. Now, you don't need to be taking potassium, okay? Most people are not potassium deficient. If you take extra potassium and you're not deficient, it can make you worse because it throws the balance of the sodium and potassium levels off in the body. The only people who are usually potassium deficient are people who have thrown up or puked because they were sick for some reason. When you puke, you lose a lot of potassium. So don't make the mistake of knee-jerk trying to just throw a million electrolytes into your body. Salt is the first thing that I tell people to add to their diet when they don't feel good, they feel crampy, or they feel a little, like the muscles are just too flat. Okay? If you feel woozy and blurred vision, that's low blood sugar symptoms.
Let's go to Char Be Fit. Is it possible to be intolerant to whey protein? I get severe stomach aches and bloating when I use it every day, but I seem fine on casein. Oh, and your show sucks ass.
Well, I don't know what whey protein you're using. So obviously most whey proteins have lactose associated with them. Even the most purest form of whey isolate, okay, which would probably be our Isolyze at Species Nutrition, even Isolyze has some lactose in it. It's a minute amount because you cannot remove all the lactose. It's impossible from whey protein. Even though, like I said, the purest isolate will always have a teeny bit. So if you're super crazy, allergic, sensitive, even my protein can bother you. But I think I've had one person in the history of using Isolyze complain to me that it bothered their stomach. But most of the isolates, or I should say blends, concentrates on the market have a lot of lactose in it. So if you're using a whey protein that you got for a good deal someplace, you probably have lactose in it, and it's the lactose that's causing you to be uncomfortable, getting gas and pains and cramping type stuff. So, like I said this before, you get what you pay for. Try a high quality whey isolate like Isolyze, and you probably won't have any issues.
Let's go to Booby Bobby Traplord. How do you feel about cycling bulking to stay lean while gaining a lot of size? For example, bulk 4 to 6 weeks at 4,500 calories and then cut for 4 to 6 weeks at 2,500 calories to tax your adrenal glands and get a good rebound when you start bulking again.
I'm not sure I'm following what they're asking,
All right, so
suggesting.
You want me to ask it again? So
yeah.
How do you feel about cyclical bulking to stay lean while gaining a lot of size? And then to give the example scenarios, bulk for 4 to 6 weeks at 4,500 calories, then cut 4 to 6 weeks at 2,500 calories to tax your adrenal glands.
Let me, I don't know what this has to do with adrenal glands. Everyone's obsessed with adrenal glands. But let me ask you this question. If you dieted for 4 weeks real hard and then you ate, for 2 weeks, what would happen, you think? You gain back all the weight, right? So you're going up and down. You're not making any progress. So the same thing with bulking. Your body doesn't want to get bigger. It wants to stay where it is. If you eat hard for 4 weeks and then 2 weeks you lower your calories down again, you'll probably lose everything you gained because you haven't maintained that weight long enough for your body to accept it as the new self, okay? The new set point, as we like to say. Same thing with losing weight. If the day you lose the 50th pound that you're looking to lose, you go back to eating the way you were before, or you go back to increasing your calories, you might gain all that weight back, or you might gain some of it back because your body hasn't accepted this new set point as being, new. It still thinks it's the old body, the fat body. So the longer you can keep weight off your body, the more likely you are not to gain the weight back. Likewise, the longer you can keep new weight on your body, new muscle mass on your body, the more likely it is to be permanent. So I don't like that up and down too much, although I think you can vary carbs from day to day. I just don't think you should go from such a drastic 4,000, 4,500 calories down to 2,500.
Erwinator666, Dave, I own a gym in the UK. Where can I get Species Nutrition products?
We have a distributor in UK called Predator Nutrition, and you can contact them. They have a website, and reach out to them, and I'm sure they will be able to help you out with getting whatever products you want.
J. Nesmith, I hate this show so much that I decided to compete so I can become a pro someday so that when you interview me, I'll schedule a live with only to decline the day of due to a $4,000 payment that I'll never receive and disappoint the fans. Is it reasonable for your clients you work with to stay low carb, non-keto, or do you suggest that they eat with carbs in all meals to grow?
Usually in the off season, I have my clients eating carbs. I don't have them eat excessive amounts of carbs unless they have a crazy metabolism. But anyone who's out there who's worked with me in the off season knows I'm a big believer in high protein, moderate fat, coming mostly from essentials and monounsaturated fats for growth, and then whatever carbs are required to fuel the person's workouts and their daily activities. I try not to go too high where they're going to get fat, and I try not to go too low where they're not going to have enough to fuel their activities, and they're going to dip into the protein and fat they're eating to use as fuel. That's what we don't want.
Take a couple of more questions. Let's go to IFBB Pro _ Jeff V. I hate this show more than you hate it when people ask if they should use insulin for a pre-workout. Should a men's physique competitor train as heavy and as long as a bodybuilder?
Absolutely. Men's physique, classic physique, bodybuilding, it's all the same. The goals are the same. Build muscle, dense muscle, good symmetry, good conditioning. The formula is the same. The size of the guys are just different. Now, if you're at the limit of how big you should really be for men's physique and you don't want to get any bigger, that's a different story. But most guys in the sport still need to make improvements and get bigger. So unless you're at that threshold already where you can't grow anymore, even like in classic physique, if you're at the weight limit, you can't really put any more muscle on. Aside from that, train like a bodybuilder. It is body. I have bikini girls train like a bodybuilder. The only bikini girls that shouldn't train like bodybuilders are bikini girls who are too big already and have to worry about, hey, if I add another couple pounds of muscle, I'm going to be out of this class. But other than that, hey, I get these girls. I have a lot of bikini, believe it or not, clients who are just starting out in bikini. They're young girls. How do I train? We put them on bodybuilder programs because they want to build muscle. Now, at some point, if the muscle becomes to the point where their bodies are complete, then we don't need to go anymore. But very few people can't improve or don't need to make improvements. There are very few people who are at that threshold.
Take one more question from Wide Back Zach. What, in your opinion, is an acceptable body fat percentage to bulk up to what would still be beneficial to making gains without only becoming a fat storing machine, calorie partitioning?
That's arbitrary. It really is. I always tell people, I don't measure body fat. I go by what looks good. If a person starts looking sloppy, I cut them back. I cut their carbs back on them, and I have them drop some weight. If they look good to me in their pictures, even though this machine might say they're 15% body fat, I don't care. I'll keep pushing them. I look at the person and assess, hey, if I got to get this person in shape in 16 weeks, can I do it? If they're getting to the point where I don't think I can do it in 16 weeks if they're too out of shape, then I start cutting them back in the off season a little bit.
That's going to do it for this episode of Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition. In a few minutes, we are going to have our first episode of our new show, Versus. Dave is going to break down Dexter Jackson versus Big Ramy at this past weekend's Arnold Classic Europe. For Dave Palumbo and Johnny Styles, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you in a few minutes.